On November 1st, 2003, singer and pop star Britney Spears would release her fourth album, In the Zone. Like her previous albums, this would be positively received by critics and become another commercially successful record for Spears, debuting at the top of Billboard's 200 chart.
Are you ready?
The intro track, Me Against the Music, which featured Madonna, was chosen to become the first single off the album.
Don't hesitate. I'm up against the speaker trying to take on the music. It's like a competition. Me against the beat. I wanna get in the zone.
That song ended up receiving mixed reviews from critics, but still ended up cracking the top 40, though peaking at number 35. This would give it the dubious honor of being the lowest charting lead single for the singer. So, for the next single, it would have to be a really good one. And it certainly was. Originally a toss-up between I Got That Boom Boom and Outrageous, it was decided that Toxic would be the second single off In the Zone, and that decision paid off big time. Released on July 12, 2004, Toxic exploded on the airwaves and garnered Spears much better reception compared to her first single. Commercially, it did better than Me Against the Music, peaking at number 9 on the Hot 100. And in terms of awards, Toxic would win Spears her first and surprisingly only Grammy, winning Best Dance Recording at the 47th Grammy Awards. And even now, it's considered one of Spears' best songs in her discography. This becoming a big hit for the singer can be partially attributed to its accompanying music video.
On this episode of Making the Video with Britney Spears,
Hi.
Britney gets intimate.
I have nothing on underneath. I just have a bunch of diamonds glued all over my body.
Debuting on the January 13th episode of MTV's Making the Video, a show that featured the process of making music videos,
Yeah, I want to see a little bit more of her butt, basically.
Come back.
it entered regular rotation on Total Request Live the next day. And needless to say, it is a rather important music video to talk about, being influential to future music videos of that decade and into 2010s. It is absolutely a video that deserves a music video time in the future. So with a song so big as this with a very influential music video, how exactly could you have followed up Toxic?
This next song I'm gonna sing is a song that I wrote 2 years ago in Germany. It's the first song that I've ever written. It's a ballad, and I hope you guys like it.
Well, for Spears, what she did was very unconventional for her. In fact, it took a huge tonal shift and resulted in being quite possibly the singer's most controversial music video. How controversial are we talking about? Well, for starters, it received backlash before it even began shooting. What on earth did Britney make that started off a huge firestorm? You'll definitely find out here because for this history lesson, we're going to be talking about a video that has in recent years seemed to have been forgotten about after its release, save for some considering it a foreshadow to the pop singer's eventual spiral of fame and turmoil. Hindsight is 2020 this time around, so get in the zone for this one as it is once again music video time, and we are talking about Britney Spears and the controversy behind her music video, Everytime. When I say this is a controversial music video for Spears, that's honestly a pretty blanketed statement to make, as it could be an identifier for a slew of her videos. All the way back to her first music video, Britney garnered some complaints from parent associations because of her midriff being shown. And later music videos definitely had some controversy surrounding them. So when I say Everytime is her most controversial, that's saying something. Everytime also has the distinction of being controversial before the music video began filming. In fact, the song wasn't even released as a single until the day after news broke of its music video on March 9th, 2004. When MTV.com published their article with the headline, Britney Spears' puzzling new video has singer drowning in fame. In the article, MTV mentions details about the music video's production, from its shooting location, its director, and right down to the synopsis of the video. They were able to provide these details as somehow MTV obtained the video's treatment. The details they mentioned in the article was that it was shot in Los Angeles, but the setting was meant to be in Las Vegas. They also mentioned director of Everytime to be David LaChapelle. By this time, LaChapelle was a very well-known photographer, having been hired by Andy Warhol when he was still in high school. His works have been published on numerous magazines and advertisements, most famously his Kissin' Sailors ad, used for the clothing line Diesel. But LaChapelle was also a seasoned music video director, having made music videos for Moby, Khalees, Elton John, Mariah Carey, and many others. So far, it sounds like a normal 2000s music video production. So the video that really gets controversial lies within the video's plot.
We're gonna let you go, okay?
Okay.
From the treatment, it was said that the video would use a saturated but low and naturalistic lighting to give a cinematic feel, taking a cue from the 1995 Nicolas Cage film Leaving Las Vegas. And if you know what Leaving Las Vegas is about, that would raise some alarms for anyone expecting this to be like any other Spears video. But the actual plot is where things really start to get heated. According to the clip's treatment, Spears arrives at the supposedly secret but paparazzi-swarmed back alley of an exclusive hotel, boyfriend in tow. Though it's common for the singer to be mobbed by the press, this time people go to extremes, exaggerating the chaos as her bodyguards try to protect her and fights break out. The camera cuts back and forth from the action to find Spears in an extreme close-up, performing directly to the camera as the story unfolds around her. She and her date are scuffled into the hotel, having been roughed up a bit, and exchange a look expressing what was supposed to be a vacation is no fun for either of them. They end up in the high rollers suite, but it doesn't help calm them down. Spears tries to put her angry boyfriend at ease, pouring 2 glasses of wine from the gift basket, but he lashes out, smashing the bottle at her feet. Spears then gets quiet and walks away, heading to the bathroom where the camera angles start to add a bit of mystery. A hand lays down on a glass of red wine, water trickles around the cracks of tile, the tub overflows, and on the ledge lies a bottle of pills, the cap removed. Spears' head slips underwater, and only then does her boyfriend, who has been watching television, start to notice. As he tries to revive her, the camera tracks a new Britney, alive and unharmed, walking past him, out of the room and out of the hotel. The paparazzi, still swarming in the back entrance, don't seem to register this Britney, and she disappears into the night.
Sorry, is this getting too contemplative early on? Here are some farting noises.
So just like what the article's title says, the video appears to end with Spears drowning in the bathroom, heavily implying to be intentional. And as shocking as this sounds by itself, a reminder that her previous music video was Spears being a secret agent and occasionally wearing diamonds all over her body. 2 very different tones to expect here. Now, music videos have tackled the subject of suicide before in cases like Pearl Jam's Jeremy, but to have the singer themselves take their own life, I don't recall an artist as big as Britney to have a video like that. As well, Spears' demographic at the time was predominantly a preteen to young adult audience in 2004, so this definitely opened a can of worms when news let out. MTV never explained how they obtained the treatment. I'm assuming someone behind the scenes didn't like the plot of the video and wanted to blow the whistle on what the video was going to be about. I'm also not sure how verbatim MTV's description of the video is, as from what I can tell, the treatment was never released publicly. So at this point, with the video not having a single frame shot, this was just MTV's article about the video that people had to go on, and this news definitely got outrage from people. MTV themselves received letters about the music video from their You Tell Us mail call section, some positive, some negative. I'm glad to see Britney Spears finally do a somewhat dark video and not play it safe. While she is no stranger to controversy, I think this video will have a different tone than what we are used to from her. David LaChapelle directing the video would ensue that this video will rock. Leave it to Britney to exploit suicide and try for a pathetic attempt at credibility. I lost a brother to suicide and am disgusted with her. Killing yourself is not glamorous. It won't set you free, and it will destroy everyone who loves you. She created her problems, and she should be able to deal with them like a grown-up. She kills her boyfriend in Toxic, and now she kills herself in Everytime? What great messages Britney is sending out. This whole killing thing she's into now is making me nervous. I know it is a video, but still, I hope parents sit down with their kids, explain to them that it's not okay to kill your boyfriend or yourself. This is so depressing and messed up. Britney Spears' video Everytime should not be shown. Suicide occurs at an alarming rate, and this video seems to glorify it. Suicide is not a joke. It is a very serious subject that should not be taken lightly. I have lost a friend to suicide, and the concept of this video disgusts me. Spears needs to get her head straight and stop trying to stir controversy to sell albums. This one from a 16-year-old in particular being exceptionally excited about the darker than usual concept Britney had planned. I am very excited about the video concept for Everytime. I think this shows Britney is willing to take risks and not play it safe. A ballad isn't a guaranteed hit in the summertime, and the idea of killing yourself in your own video is something many of her fans will never forget. But this controversy did not sit well for the singer or her record label. On March 12th, 3 days after the initial MTV article, Jive Records released a statement about the suicide aspect of the video. According to Jive, Spears was against the scene, making it appear to be a suicide instead of an accidental death. Britney Spears was uncomfortable with these treatments due to the potential for a fictional accidental occurrence to be misinterpreted as a suicide. Ms. Spears revised the treatment to ensue the video for Everytime will not have a scene in it that could in any way be perceived as a reference to a suicide. The singer's label said that it was not her intent to present suicide in any sort of positive light, and that she hopes people who are considering suicide seek help. Spears does not endorse suicide as a solution to to any individual and fully recognize that people who go to this length need assistance and advice and should contact their local suicide prevention organization. Something to keep in mind is that usually the singers aren't the ones that write these treatments. It's usually people like the director that comes up with the concept, whether or not the singer actually approves it or not. So I don't fully believe that Spears actually was all for the original concept of the video. As well, it is interesting that the singer essentially rewrote the script for the music video, which I don't think happens often. And with all the air being cleared up, the next day, March 13th, 2004, the music video to Everytime begins filming, concluding the next day. News about the video dissipated for a while until April 12th, 2004, when the music video premiered on MTV's Total Request Live. So now let's look at the music video and see what exactly they changed. The video has Spears talking to her boyfriend, but he's in the middle of a phone call. Her boyfriend in this video is played by Stephen Dorff. Definitely did not expect a future True Detective star to be in a music video, let alone one for Britney Spears. For the most part, the plot of the music video is the same as the treatment, but there are some key differences. For example, besides the ending being changed, the scene where she tries to neutralize their argument with wine wasn't shot, just has Dorff throw things like vases around. Dorff, by the way, went into detail about shooting the music video in 2011 for MTV when he was promoting Sofia Coppola's film Somewhere. According to Dorff, the entire experience was weird. He seems to have been given the direction of being an asshole and break stuff. Director David LaChapelle just told me to diss her and just kind of ignore her, so I was just playing like a boyfriend in a fight. Start breaking stuff, and I said, alright. They had all this fake glass, so I started kicking stuff. It was actually kind of fun. Another bit of detail that was interesting was that during the scenes of the paparazzi, they were all wearing fake noses. It's a fake. This was our take on paparazzos too. They put prosthetic noses on all of them, which is funny. You see how they all look kind of weird? You see all the noses.
I see your face, it's haunting me.
So when we get to her going into the bathroom is when the plot is completely different from the treatment. When she gets into her bath, there aren't any pills around her. Instead, she somehow gets a head wound in the back of her head. I don't really know how this happens. She appears to have laid her head back softly, so where did the gash come from? I would guess that she got it when Dorff broke that glass vase? Well, no, she was facing towards the vase when he did that. Would have gotten glass in her face. And even if her back was turned, she had a hat on. With her head wound, she passes out and submerges into the bath. Interspersed are scenes of a hospital where Spears is implied to have died, which is interesting that the intent of the video was always the idea that Spears dies at the end. We do see the boyfriend try to rescue her. I'm assuming that she was underwater long enough to make him concerned. There was a funny tidbit that Dorff brings up in his recollection. The treatment made it clear that the boyfriend was going to attempt to save her in the video, but how he was going to do it was changed. I knew I had to save her in the bathtub, but it was my idea to go in with the shoes and jeans and kind of find her. First, they had me changed into my boxers. I was like, I don't think he has time. She's dying. So I went in. That makes complete sense. Who in their right mind would think they would strip into their undies before saving someone? All the while, as Spears, I believe, is pronounced dead, in another room, a woman has just given birth to a baby girl. You can tell because she's swaddled in pink. It does seem like the music video was supposed to end on this shot of the baby, but for some reason, there's a bit more to the video. The song's length is 3 minutes 50, which is when the video starts to fade, but it fades to white and shows Britney emerging from the bath, looking reinvigorated? She's alive? Was it all a dream? What happened here?
Just keep the applause going. It's always great to have this lady on the show. The lovely and talented Britney Spears is on the phone.
Before it made its world premiere on TRL, Britney Spears was on the phone explaining to the audience what the music video was about.
New video for Everytime. The video looks great. What was the inspiration behind this whole thing?
Well, really, it was, Everytime was like one of the first slow songs that I've written, and, the inspiration was just to have like a beautiful, you know, a sweet love song. But the inspiration behind the video was because the song is like so very like a music box. I wanted the video to be like a contrast and to be kind of dark. So the video is very dark, and it's more, instead of me being very performancy and looking very pretty, this video is more like a movie, like a movie. It tells a story. So yeah, it's really different from anything I've ever really done. David LaChapelle, he did the video, which he's brilliant.
Oh, that's great. He's really
yeah,
really good.
it shows me in a different light.
But according to MTV, she didn't have a chance to actually say this on the show and had to call TRL later to have the show explain what the video's concept was about. which was Reincarnation. So what that means is the baby is supposed to be her reincarnated. So to recap the video, she hates the paparazzi, gets into a fight with her boyfriend, goes into a bath where she somehow gets a head injury, falls into the bath, and drowns, then becomes reincarnated. But doesn't?
What a twist!
Maybe it was just because of the controversy of her dying, but I'm assuming this was all a dream for Spears? Like, a bit of escapism for her, wanting to die and restart life, hating the fame and the turmoil that goes with it.
Please forgive me.
Reincarnation is not mentioned in the treatment, but it's entirely plausible, albeit ironic as this video debuted the day after Easter Sunday that year. With that being said, the theme of Britney not being happy with fame and stardom is not a new concept for her at the time.
This is a story about a girl named Lucky.
All the way back in her second album, Oops, I Did It Again, Spears released her second single, Lucky. And just like every time, Spears is singing about her struggles with success in the music industry. And it's possible that the message was missed in this, even though the music video shows that, despite everything seeming to be great and she appears happy with what she has, including getting an Oscar, it ends with her crying herself to sleep as if it's all a facade. I remember this song more than I do every time, but as a very young kid, I definitely did not understand the message to the song. And reflecting on it, this is definitely a really powerful song about the subject matter of the struggles of being successful. Definitely one of her best songs. Going back to Everytime's music video, I'm assuming that the controversy surrounding the music videos was forgotten about in the United States as the music video did extremely well on TRL. It was the top video of the show on and off, first being #1 video on April 16th, before being knocked out by Outkast's Roses on the 20th.
Yeah, and I dig this now, even though you need a golden calculator.
From there, Everytime would return to #1 the next day and spend the rest of the month battling for the top spot against D12's My Band.
Because I'm the lead singer of my band, my band, my band.
In total, Everytime was #1 on TRL for 6 days. And I would assume its success translated well for Spears as, despite the overall dark video, it peaked at number 15 on the Hot 100.
Every time I see you in my dream.
I said the United States appeared to have stopped caring about the music video's themes, but it appeared that the music video was even more controversial elsewhere. Tanya Sweeney for the Evening Herald, an Irish tabloid newspaper, was very vocal about the video, with her opinion piece about it being headlined, "Pop-Tart's video is career suicide." Get it?
Le décompte est une présentation de Doritos.
I'm not talking about Ireland when it comes to this still having controversy. Over in Canada is where things were being taken very seriously. For example, the Montreal-based show Music Plus aired the names and phone numbers to suicide prevention hotlines after the end of each showing of Everytime, which as article mentions, they aired it 10 times a week. Director General of Suicide Action Montreal, Louis Lemay, went on an episode of Music Plus to denounce the music video. In a quote by him during the episode, "She's a popular idol for young people. They imitate her, they want to be like her. So if something is going badly in their lives, will they look at her video and ask, did she kill herself? Should they do the same?" Britney Spears is playing with the lives of fragile youngsters for her own publicity purposes. There is nothing innocent about this. Okay, 2 things. 1, yes, I understand where LeMay is coming from. The director said Quebec had one of the highest youth suicide rates in the world at the time, and prevention is a noble thing. But this feels like a huge scare tactic, essentially villainizing Britney like she is doing this just for exposure. She wasn't, which leads to my next point. Did he not watch the music video? Britney Spears personally changed the music video's concept to not make it look like she killed herself, and instead just accidentally drowned. The only reason people would assume she took her own life is because of the leaked treatment MTV acquired through means that are rather suspect when you think about it. You would literally have to not watch the music video to not know this. Thankfully, the music director of the Music Plus defended the decision to air the music video on the channel. He said the station watched it in its entirety twice with an internal focus group that saw nothing offensive about it. You see a bit of blood and she sinks underwater, but mostly it's a metaphor in which she dies and is reborn. People have created more to it than is really there. And I cannot agree more with what he said. Craig Halkick, senior music programmer to Toronto's Much Music, stated in the same article that the video didn't receive any complaints about airing it on the channel, even though when it was first shown on the program, the VJ that introduced the video the first time warned that it would make you cry. And they were airing this video 30 times a week, which amounts to more than 4 times a day. Then again, I don't really appreciate Haltick adding on by saying that it was lackluster that benefited from the publicity.
It's true, but he shouldn't say it.
Look, I'm not gonna beat around the bush. I wouldn't be doing a music video time on this video if it wasn't for the controversy. By itself, the video doesn't really have much to write home about beyond Britney Spears dies. It's pretty straightforward and competently made, and yeah, it does look like someone you could see in a film, but I'll admit that it's not enough to warrant its own video. Not to say that it's a bad music video, I'm just not wowed by it. But at the same time, I do appreciate that Spears did something different. As she said, and when she called into TRL,
keeping yourself interested in making videos because you've made so many videos.
Well, I mean, after a while, I mean, of course, I'm gonna, go back and do tons of dance videos, but I think it was just time for me to try to do something a little different, Yeah, of course, so you can, be inspired and challenged each time, so.
and she did do that in future videos, continuing the status quo of making dance videos. While they had varying results of success, they definitely didn't get as dark as Everytime did, which really sets the video apart from everything else she has done. Can't really say much about the critical reception when it came out. Did find this one article from New York Times, but that's about it. But retrospectively, it appears that it has gotten a warmer reception, at least in cases acknowledging the darker tone to be fitting, especially due to Spears' later mental breakdowns years after the single's release. One particular review to point out was James Montgomery of MTV calling it underrated. And while I personally think the video is more interesting than good, I do agree with this sentiment. I don't think it's special beyond the controversy, but I do believe it was very ambitious to have Spears be seen as a star that struggled to handle the consequences of achieving that level of success she acquired at a young age. Reminder that she was not an adult yet when her first album came out, and Everytime was released when she was 23. Really puts into perspective how much pressure must have been on her. It's really no wonder why she struggled with her mental health years later.
Every time I try to fly, I fall without my wings.
While I don't think this video is something to write home about, I do think that this video has things going for it. This whole controversy really could have been prevented if that treatment never leaked out. I'm assuming Spears would have wanted to completely change before they started shooting, but the backlash ended up taking a life of its own, and ends up being the bigger talking point than the actual music video. It caused Everytime to become Spears' most controversial video, even if it's not as well known as her other showstoppers she made prior to and after. But I will accept the notion that this video is in some ways underrated, as I do like that it has garnered some analysis years later, which is very important now that Spears' conservatorship has ended. As I said before, hindsight is 20/20. And both Everytime and Lucky showed that we should have been taking what was happening to her very seriously. But for now, I'm hoping to see the future of what Spears has to come with as she's releasing new music. So we'll see where this leads us. Keep yourself healthy, and thanks for your time.